What's going on, Niner fam? This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. I'm Peter Lucas, and I got with me, you kind of know who I got with me just by looking at the mask. I got Jay in the Bay with me today, so you know the energy is going to be high. Jay, I'm so excited to have you on today. Why don't you tell all the Niner fam, where they can find you on the socials?
Absolutely. First, I got to greet the Niner family and greet Peter Lucas. I got to say, faithful, what's good? It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. And pleasure to be on with you tonight on the Niner Fanatic Podcast, man. And people can find me on IG, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube under Jay in the Bay. And it's a pleasure to be on with you tonight and talk some Niner football, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited. I love your show. I love the energy, and it's
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just a pleasure to have you on. But so we finally got today, not today. Well, I guess today we finally got today, kind of a finalized roster, right? Finally,
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably still going to be one or two moves before week one. But I think that the most important one, the one that the thing that everybody's talking about, it wasn't even the roster cuts. It was, of course, it had to have something to do with Jimmy.
Oh, yeah.
So Jimmy ends up back on the squad. Not that he really ever left, but we couldn't trade him. But now he agreed to bring his salary down to $6.5 million. Now he's the backup for Trey, and they've made it very clear that he is the backup. So how do you feel about that? And are you on the ledge like all the other Niner fans and Niner Twitter?
Whew, man, you coming out the gate with the tough ones. And I must say, that is a sick intro you have, by the way.
Dude, I appreciate it.
No problem. In regards to the Jimmy G situation, I think let's do a little revisionist history. Let's go back to February of this year. I don't think any Niner fan would have thought that Jimmy G would be back on this roster. Mm-hmm. Jimmy G this offseason, basically, he's been present at the facility doing his own throwing program, but he hasn't really been involved with the team. He didn't have a playbook. And as I said before, he was, working out on his own. Shanahan basically said, hey, this guy is the fourth quarterback on the depth chart. And the 49ers had no intention of keeping Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G having the shoulder surgery at the time he had it definitely affected his trade value. What team would want to trade for a player that can't throw a football, at the time that the trading was going on? So the 49ers get Jimmy G to reduce his salary by 2/3. He was scheduled to make about 27. Now he's down to 6.5. With incentives, he can bump that up to about 16. But I think I understand the logic behind the move. Jimmy G is much better than Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld. And not only is he better, he has the experience, Shanahan even mentioned, hey, I was ready to go into the season with Trey and Brock Purdy as the backup, as the number 2 quarterback. I don't know about you, Faithful, but I don't think that would be a good idea. It's almost like the blind leading the blind. And I'm glad Jimmy G is on the roster. In Shanahan's tenure with the 49ers, he's only had one season where the quarterback started every game, and that was in 2019. Every other year, it's basically been Jimmy G starts the season, he gets hurt. Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Trey Lance came in a few games last year. So I think that's something else we need to take into consideration. Hey, we got a reliable backup behind Trey Lance. I just hope that Kyle Shanahan gives Trey Lance a legit opportunity. I don't care if Trey Lance struggles. He should be out there
Mhm.
every game if he's healthy. Obviously, if he gets hurt, yeah, you put Jimmy in there. But Trey Lance should get a legit shot. And I also understand the other side where 49er fans have Jimmy fatigue, and that's real. The Jimmy fatigue is
Yeah.
definitely real. But
I feel it right now. Like,
yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, I wanted Jimmy gone. I just wanted number 10. I appreciate what he did for this team. He made this team
Mhm.
relevant. And I know some people say Jimmy's garbage or whatever. Unfortunately, Jimmy did not rise to the occasion when we needed him to at the biggest moments. I don't think there's any denying that.
No.
But when Jimmy was healthy and on the roster and under center, hey, we were in contention. 2 NFC championship appearances, 1 Super Bowl appearances. There's no denying that. He has a career winning record. So I totally understand the logic behind the move. It's just unfortunate that there's going to be noise, the outside noise. Oh, Trey Lance threw an incomplete pass. Oh, Trey Lance threw an interception. We need
Yeah.
to allow Trey Lance to have the bumps in the road. He's basically a rookie quarterback. Let's be real. He's a rookie quarterback. So allow him to
Absolutely.
have the bumps in the road without second guessing the decision. And I hope that Trey gets a legit shot.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. Like, and I mean, it really just comes down to this. Like, we allowed Jimmy to take us to 3-5 at the beginning of last season. There's
Right.
no reason to just panic if Trey comes out the gate a little slow.
Right.
I don't think that they will. Honestly, I think that we are at the point now to where Kyle knows what he wants, and he's said it over and over again. And I think Kyle is really the one between him and Lynch that you can trust.
Right.
Like, because Kyle don't lie.
Right.
Lynch will lie, but like
Yeah.
Kyle, if you pay attention to the things that he says, he's not gonna he everything that he says comes to kind of fruition, even when we don't necessarily agree with it. But I just think that he said all along that this is Trey's team at this point. I mean, I think that Jimmy only comes in if there's an injury,
Right.
and which obviously we do not want to see with Trey. He had he had a finger issue and a knee issue last year, and I just always fear that with the running style. But but I don't. I think that Trey is. I think it's just going to be a lot different this year, and I think
Yeah.
Kyle is prepared for to have him back there. I don't think last year he was prepared to even have him he have like a game script for him. So this year I think it's going to be Trey until the wheels fall off. And that's really what it comes out. Jimmy, I think that this is a win-win for the 49ers.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people are looking at this like, we just want Jimmy gone. But I don't think any of us thought that Jimmy would take a pay cut to come back and beat and agree to be the backup.
Right.
Like, I don't think any of us thought that.
No,
And it's
I didn't think.
so it was just, I mean, it is what it is. Like, when you have an opportunity to have 2 starters, one agree to be your backup, I think you have to go with that, especially one that knows the system, knows the team, and that we can have confidence that at least he knows the offense. He can run the offense.
Right.
So we might not necessarily think that he can guide us there, and that's why we've got Trey there. We're
Right.
hoping that he has that next level in him, like to make those throws that Jimmy just can't make. Now, what
Oh,
we got to see
absolutely.
now from Trey is, can he make the throws that Jimmy makes?
Yeah.
And those little easy ones that he just got to get that he just got to get that fastball and take it down to a changeup every now and
Right.
then.
No,
Like, so
absolutely. Absolutely. He's got to get polished. And the only way he
yeah,
gets polished is he needs snaps. Like you look at Brock Purdy. I know people were obsessed with Purdy mania, but Purdy, he looked comfortable when he was there. He was making throws, and I think Trey Lance can get there. He's just, Purdy what started all 4 years at Iowa State. Trey doesn't really sniff the amount of games that Purdy has played. So I think the Trey Lance we'll see from week 1 to week 12 will be totally different. And I think he's going to get, just like anything in every walk of life, the more you do something to the best of your ability, usually the better you'll get at whatever task you're doing. And I think, that holds well with Trey Lance. But I got to say, what's good to Grandizer and Redder. Thank you guys for tuning in to the stream tonight. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to Niner Fanatic Podcast. And also, I would harken back really quick to the schedule. So we have 2 let's call it easy games on paper at Chicago, home against
And
Seattle. Those
Seahawks,
should be
yeah.
two games that we win, and I think those are layup games for Trey Lance. And I think Kyle
Should
Shanahan and
be.
Lynch, they should be right on paper.
Yeah.
There's no easy game really. You still got, hey, the Bears put their pads on the same way the Niners do. Those guys get paid just like the Niners do. So on paper, it should be an easy game. The 49ers are more talented than Chicago and Seattle, but you still have to go out there and execute the game plan. And the great thing about Trey and the 49ers, he doesn't have to carry this team. He doesn't have to throw the ball 40 to 50 times. We're going to run the ball. We kept 4 running backs plus Juice, so total of 5. We're going to run this ball 30 35 times, maybe even 40 times a game, and Trey can throw 20 to 25 passes, work off play action, and I think that works best for a rookie quarterback. You can go back to Russell Wilson in Seattle. He was handing off the ball a lot. So that's just an example, but I think the offense will work well under Trey, and it's going to be a collaborative effort. It's not going to be Trey doing everything by himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. Do you think that um do you think that there's a possibility that he could get traded like mid-season when somebody, because we all know that injuries happen, and it's never fails that a team just all of a sudden needs a quarterback and they're willing to trade assets. Now this is the thing with Jimmy, and I think this is why it's a win-win for the 49ers, is not only did they save the cap space, but now that by keeping him now at the end of the season, if they let him walk, they get a third round compensatory pick.
Yep.
Now that means that anybody that wants to come and get him got to come off of at least a third round pick. That's the floor,
Right.
and probably more than a third round pick. So it's do you think that anything like that happens, or do you think that they just roll with Jimmy, having him in the backup?
I would be surprised unless there's like a Sam Bradford trade. I remember, I think the Eagles, I don't know, one of their quarterbacks got hurt and then they traded for Sam Bradford. They gave up like a first round pick. I mean, if a team offers up a first round pick for
Oh my
Jimmy
God.
G, then
Yeah,
it's
oh my
like,
God.
hey,
Like, yeah,
the Niners, the Niners should do it, right? I think that would make sense. But
Yeah.
I think this roster is better with Jimmy G on it. He is one
Yeah.
of the best 53 players on this roster. There's no doubt. He's the second best quarterback. I mean, arguably, he's the first best quarterback, in terms of his experience and whatnot. So I would be surprised if the Niners traded him. And just like you, I was shocked. I didn't think Jimmy G would accept a pay cut. I mean, I remember doing shows weeks and weeks ago and just trying to play it out. Why would Jimmy G take a pay cut? Making 27 to go down to 6.5. It didn't really make sense. But this is the best situation for Jimmy because there were no other legit trade partners. At least they didn't give up. They weren't going to give up enough assets or enticing assets for the 49ers to strike a deal. So essentially there was no deal. So, Jimmy, hey, I'll take a pay cut. There's a possible chance that he will play because, hey, injuries happen. And I think he knows the system. Hey, I'm sure he loves living in the Bay Area with the amount of money he makes, So, hey, it's like you said, it's a win-win for Jimmy, and we get a third round comp pick. That's pretty good. We've done pretty well in the draft with our day 2, day 3 picks. So
it'll probably just be another running back, but
exactly. I know, right? Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully the Niners Shanahan learned their lesson, man. We don't need to
I don't
running backs.
Shanahan is a very stubborn man. I just don't think he'll ever learn his lesson from and come off of what he wants to do. He's always going to do what he wants to do. I think he's shown us that. But
I'm shocked they cut Trey Sermon.
You know what? I was on my earlier shows. I've been calling for Trey Sermon to get. I thought that he should be cut. I didn't think that they would do it.
Right.
But yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised that they had learned from years past of holding on to those higher draft picks and kind of wasting time. But I'll tell you what helped them along is, I mean, Jordan Mason, like TDP. I felt like he was learning as he was going, but Jordan Mason, like that, I don't care what level of guys you're playing against.
Yeah.
When you put tape up like he put in during this preseason, I mean, I think it made it easy. It made it an easy call for them.
Yeah, and he
Like,
probably wasn't going to clear waivers, so they were like,
yeah,
"We have to keep him on the team." And he's like a bowling ball, just guys don't want to tackle him, and it's going to take
yeah,
more than one guy to bring him, to the ground. So, yeah, unfortunately though, yeah, for Trey Sermon, it didn't work out. He just didn't fit the scheme. I'm proud and surprised that Shanahan actually made that move. Because he didn't fit the system. And let's be real, the only reason he was still here is because he's a third round pick. If he had been a seventh round pick, I don't think there's any way he would have made the active roster, yesterday. So, but the 49ers had bigger needs, so they had to
yeah.
make a decision.
And you said it right there. He wasn't a fit for this system. Yeah, I think that he went to the Eagles, and I think he's gonna fit better in their system because he's more of a power gap guy, and they have more of a power gap system. I
Yeah,
think that he's gonna be a better fit for them. And so I don't want Niner fans to sit there and like if he starts showing out to be like, oh, we should have never let him go, because honestly, he just wasn't fitting the 49ers system.
yeah,
And so I mean, don't it is what it is. Sometimes guys just aren't a fit and you got to
right,
move on, and sometimes they work out better somewhere else. So
right,
kudos to the 49ers for just recognizing it and letting him go. But
absolutely.
but yeah, like so I guess the 53 is set now. Do you think this is the final roster, or do you think they still try to add somebody, and where do you think that they might try and add somebody?
If they add someone, it could be the free safety position. I
Mhm.
know Jimmy Ward, he's going to be out the first month. I'm not sure what free agents are out there at that free safety spot, but there's not a lot of experience, in the secondary. We know Huff, he's entering, his first season as a starter at the strong safety spot, and then Tavarius Moore, he's been here since 2018, 2019, I believe. So
Yeah.
he's got some experience, but I don't think he's the best guy at that position to play free safety. So we got George Odom,
Mhm.
free agent, but he's more of a special teams ace. He has started games at the safety position when he was with the Colts, but other than that, we don't have like the captain, the longest
Yeah.
tenured 49er, Jimmy
Yeah.
Ward. So there's going to be, there's going to be a void there. And not only from Jimmy Ward, what he brings on the field from a physical standpoint, just knowing where guys need to line up, but also he can help Huff. Huff is in his
Absolutely.
first year starting. So, hey, Jaquiski Tart, I know he's out there. But I wouldn't mind bringing Tart back for sure. I wouldn't mind bringing him back. He's an experienced guy. He knows the system. He's played in a lot of big games, so I definitely wouldn't mind that. I gotta say though, what's good to Blue True? Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Yeah. So and I appreciate everybody in the chat. Like, I love that everybody getting active in there. And we don't always have time to get to all the questions, but I'm gonna ask this one for Josh Boraz. He has a question for Jay, who's going to score more touchdowns this year: Miles Sanders, Trey Sermon, or Jimmy Garoppolo?
What's good? What's good, Josh? How you doing? It's definitely gonna be Miles Sanders. I believe he's the starter in Philly at the running back position. So yeah, he'll definitely score more touchdowns if he stays healthy. That's for sure. And hopefully, I don't know how the rest of the Niner Empire feel, but hopefully, I don't want to see Jimmy G in any games this year. I think that would be a best case scenario for the 49ers. What's good? Hey, Leave His World. I think that'd be best case scenario for the 49ers. I want Trey to get as many snaps as he can get because we know Trey Lance is the future, present and future of this team. So I only want to see Jimmy unless Trey gets hurt, and hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And so why do you think they chose not to bring Tart back? What is Tart radioactive? Like I feel like I mean he knows the system. He
Right,
knows the system. He's not terrible. He wasn't
right.
terrible for us. I mean, he had injury issues, but why and this is the thing, he has the speed to be able to cover for I feel like to cover for Jimmy also to be at least serviceable in that spot.
Yeah.
Like why do you think they just don't want to bring him back?
Well, throughout his tenure with the Niners, he did battle injuries, so reliability and they say availability is the best ability, and that was
That's
hey,
true.
he was lacking somewhere in that department.
Mhm.
Also, I'm sure he doesn't want to take he doesn't want to make the vet minimum. I'm sure he wants to make more than that. And the 49ers, we can afford, if you want to pay him $3 million, whatever, like the 49ers can do that. I think we have about $7 million in cap space. But I think that dropped interception. I know, hey, some fans say, hey, I'm glad that he accepted responsibility and he owned up to it. And other fans are like, man, how could you drop that? That could have changed the complexity of the game. But I think that's part of it. And also, I think the 49ers, they wanted to ride with Huff. I think that's the main reason that they drafted Huff. He's a great special teamer, and they want to give him an opportunity to, perform in defensive sets. And I think he is a thumper. We saw it in preseason. He gave that rookie a welcome to the NFL hit. Yeah, so that's what you need at that strong safety spot. Someone who can play close to the line of scrimmage, lay the hammer, be great in run support. And I think there's a little that leaves to be desired with him in zone coverage. But I think he'll get better as long as the Niners give him an opportunity, and as long as he has the tutelage from the secondary coach. I think he'll get better. So I think the main reason they wanted to give Huff an opportunity to start. But I think I wouldn't mind Tart coming back, though. I would say that.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Huff. I think that he's a very instinctual player. I know that that's like the first word everybody uses with him, but I just look at Huff and as he's only going to get better as he gets to play more. He's kind of like Trey in that aspect, and I think that that the man, I am blanking on our defensive coordinator's name.
D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryan. I think D'Amico Ryans has a lot of faith in Huff, to the point to where because he communicates. He's a very talkative guy. I don't know if you heard them on Brick by Brick, but he talks a lot all throughout the game, on the sideline. So he communicates a lot, and I think D'Amico Ryans was really pushing him to be that communicator on defense. So I think that he's just going to be. I think he's going to show out this year at that strong safety spot. But I think that they're going to use they had planned on using a lot of 3 safeties, and I think that that's what the league is kind of moving towards instead of having those all those linebackers in. But I'm really kind of upset that they didn't bring Tart back, because I just think that he's a guy that could have filled in at least, and he wasn't getting paid on the Eagles. I think he got $2 million.
Right.
They could have afforded $2 million. Come on, just bring.
I don't know. I don't know if Tart would want to come back and have to compete for that starting strong safety spot. What if the 49ers say, hey, Jaquiski, we'll bring you back, but you got to compete with Huff. He may only be willing to accept the starting role with starting cash, So
that's true. That's true.
But I like what you said. They will run that 3 safety look, so they could have Tart, Odom, and Huff back there, or you could put in Tavarius Moore. So but we'll see what happens in the next few days. The only thing is, if they bring in Tart, who do they take off this roster? So
that's true. I think that might spell the end for what's his name, Gibson. That's on the practice squad.
Right.
I think that they would try and sneak somebody else on the practice squad and just get rid of Gibson. But but this is a great question. Follow-up question: are the 49ers comfortable using Jimmy G in garbage time, or would it lead to Trey Lance? And I think we're just going to see old boy Purdy, and myself. I think that's what we would see. And I like Purdy. I think Purdy looked really good in the preseason, especially for being a rookie. He made a couple of Jimmy throws across the middle, getting picked off by linebackers. But it is what it is. He's a rookie. How do you feel about that?
That's a great question, because Jimmy G is, an important part of this team. He's the best backup quarterback in the NFL. And in garbage time, you don't want to risk him getting hurt, because then if Trey gets hurt, you got 2 of the, better quarterbacks hurt, and then you got to go with Purdy. But it would be hard for me to see Jimmy not in there. So let's say week 1 against Chicago, it's 4th quarter, 10 minutes left. The Niners are up, 34-10 or whatever. So I would be, because you need Jimmy G to get in there. You need him to, get the reps. He does have a few new wide receivers he'll be throwing to. A few new running backs he'll be handing off to. So he needs reps too, right? He needs game
Yeah, yeah.
reps,
That's a good point.
So maybe I don't know. Maybe you put Jimmy in for 2 series and then you put Purdy in, maybe, but I think Jimmy needs his reps too.
Yeah, yeah. I look at it as yeah, he does need his reps. I mean,
Yeah.
because he hasn't had any offseason,
Right.
basically. He's just been thrown on the sideline. So,
Right.
I mean, I think maybe 1 game or 2 games, like they might have him. Uh, I think it just depends on what time of the year it
Yeah.
is. Like in my opinion, but I think that they want. I think that's why they're keeping Brock Purdy on the active roster. Not well for a couple of reasons. I think that's could be one of the reasons, so that in garbage time they don't have to put Jimmy in. But the
Right.
other reason, of course, is they want that cost control on Purdy's salary. They don't want to release him and then you lose that cost control of having him for like 4 years at that cheap rate.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's a really good question, Josh. Like and we'll see. Like I guess during as the season goes along. But I want to get back to Trey Sermon a little bit. Like
Yeah.
so, he was cut, was not, and I don't think it was a surprise to all of us by what we saw in preseason. But was it a surprise when they did it? Like that they did it a day later
Yeah.
than everybody else. And do you think that was a little bit of strategy?
Yeah, I was surprised. First, I was surprised that Shanahan and Lynch owned up to a mistake because we've seen in the past where they
Mm,
kept Jalen Hurd, far too long. Never played a game in the regular season. But I guess his issue was a little bit different. His was just injuries, but they kept him. I think he was also a 3rd-round pick. So I think though, if I had to, I think it was planned that way. I think they were waiting to add to that offensive line, and as soon as they saw someone who could possibly fill a role, they were like, okay, well, we'll bring him on, and where do we take from? And it was Trey Sermon. Unfortunately, he did not really earn a spot on this roster. I think he did get better, and he was working out in training camp. I guess he had all the right signs. I thought the last preseason game, I thought he was decent. It wasn't great at all. I thought he looked good in like the shotgun pistol runs. He looked good there, but obviously it wasn't enough. And when you have UDFAs like Jordan Mason, and then you have another 3rd-round pick in TDP come on to the scene,
mm,
unfortunately Trey Sermon became expendable. So I'm wishing him the best. There's no ill will towards Trey Sermon. And, it just didn't work out for whatever
for
reason.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Like I thought it was them just being a little bit trying to be a little strategic.
Yeah.
Like after everybody was released the day before, I think that they thought they could like kind of sneak him by, like as everybody was scrambling to try and get the guys that they already knew were out there, that
Yeah.
they would just try to kind of just sneak him by. But the Eagles were lurking because apparently they had been the 49ers were trying to trade him to
Right.
the Eagles earlier.
Like a
So
week earlier. Yeah.
they were just like, "Oop, thank you."
Yeah. Don't even have to give up any draft
Yeah,
capital now.
don't have
Yeah.
to give nothing. And but what do you think the pecking order for the running backs is going to be now, and why?
I would say Elijah Mitchell. I think he's first and foremost
Mhm.
the starter. I think we know from Shanahan's history, we're going to use every single running back on this roster because
Yeah.
unfortunately guys get hurt. Elijah Mitchell is back. He's coming back from that hamstring injury that he had. Next, I would say Jeff Wilson Jr. I think he
Mm,
is a veteran, polished running back. He is a bruiser. He understands the system, and I think he's finally healthy now. And I think for whatever reason, if Elijah Mitchell wasn't able to go week 1, I think Jeff Wilson Jr. would get this start. In my opinion, that's what I would do at least. 3rd and 4th, I would probably go TDP Jordan Mason. I think in my opinion, they're interchangeable. Both young guys, both with a lot to prove, both have a similar running style. They're both bruisers. Definitely, it's going to take more than one guy to bring them down to the ground. I'm interested to see who's going to be the 3rd down running back. We let
yeah,
Michael
we
Hasty
let
go.
Hasty go.
Yeah, he was the 3rd down running back the last few seasons. So Will it be Elijah Mitchell? For a third down running back, you got to be able to assess the whichever defensive lineman or linebacker comes up. You got to be able to block that person, whether it's a blitzer. You got to be able to recognize that. That was one downfall of Trey Sermon. He wasn't good in pass protection. So whoever is going to be that third down back's got to be good in pass protection, and they got to be able to catch the ball. And I think all these running backs can do that. So it'll be interesting to see who's that third down back. But I think every running back's going to have an opportunity to eat in this system because Shanahan doesn't really. It's funny. Shanahan, I feel like he feeds the hot hand. I feel like with Elijah Mitchell, because some people were like, "Well, why are you running Mitchell into the ground?" I can remember those conversations last year, and
didn't have nobody else.
They didn't have nobody else, and I don't think for whatever reason, he didn't trust Jeff Wilson Jr. or maybe Jeff Wilson Jr. just. He didn't have his legs under him for whatever reason. Maybe he's still recovering from that injury, so he just wasn't ready. He didn't want to put him out there, and that's why we had to go to Debo. So, so yeah, I think every running back in the system is going to eat, and and I'm looking forward to week 1, man.
Yeah, and this is the thing about Jeff Wilson Jr. So Jeff Wilson Jr. to me is serviceable. He's going to hit the right holes. Yeah. But in my opinion, he's not explosive, and he's a backup running back. That's really what he is, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. That was what kept him on the team for as long as it did. I feel he was in the beginning. It was because he was the only back that the 49ers had that was good at that Texas route, right? Like coming out of the backfield. So it's just. I think he's valuable in that aspect that if guys start going down, he can fill in and he's going to be serviceable.
Right.
Like, but I feel like it's going to be Elijah Mitchell, and I think that they're going to try and go TDP. I was really encouraged with the way TDP was running in the last game, because it seemed like he was doing a lot of the same things that Trey Sermon was doing, which just kind of dancing around, trying to bounce it out and he found out that guys are a lot faster at the NFL level, and they're going to get to him. Like, you can't be, even though they're corners, they can still tackle.
Yeah.
And I think that he found that out. And then by like the second or third carry of that game, he was just hitting the crease. And that's when you saw progress from him. So I think that we may see more of that in like him, especially in short yardage situations. And then Jordan Mason, I think he's gonna have a role. I just don't know what it is, because he's good. He's like a mixture of all of them, and because he can catch out of the backfield, and all of the beat writers had been kind of saying that he looked good all off season, all preseason, all training camp, and so he's been the one that looks the best. And I don't know if that's by design or what, or why that is. But I mean, the kid runs with heart. I think we all can see that.
Absolutely.
And so I just think it's going to be, I think by the end of the season, I think that Jordan Mason is going to have a role in this offense. I just don't think that that's going to happen early. I think that we're going to have to probably wait till week 5, week 6. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
They always do. They always do. So not that we wish injury on anybody, but it always happens. And then I think that's when Jordan Mason's going to get his chance. And I don't think that I think that this kid has shown that if you give him a chance, he's going to show out. And that's how he's going to get his role on this team.
No, absolutely. Got to say what's good to Roberto. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It's kind of hard to judge what Shanahan looks for. It seems like the preseason doesn't matter. It's all about what you do in practice. And obviously we can't see every practice. We have some YouTube content creators who are able to go to every practice and post what's going on. Definitely grateful for them. But like, you look at a Tanner Hudson, who, he basically balled out in the preseason, right? But we know Shanahan values blocking, and we know that Warner and Dwelly are basically better blockers than Hudson. But I like what Hudson brought to this offense from a receiving standpoint. And I wish we would, obviously we got the best tight end in the NFL in Kittle, but I wish we would use, Dwelly and Warner as pass catchers as well, because I think a tight end could be a safety blanket for the quarterback. So
for sure,
it'll be interesting to see how this running back room plays out. But we've seen, you go back to Mike Shanahan, he had Alandis Gary. He had Mike Tatum. He had all these different 1,000-yard Mike Anderson. Like he got all these different, 1,000-yard runners. And I think the same will go with the 49ers offense. I don't think the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan have had a running back. It's been a different running back every year that's led the team in carries from, Mostert to Breida. I'm blanking, but Jeff Wilson Jr., he had his time.
You had Breida, you had Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman, exactly.
Jerick McKinnon at one point.
Yeah,
and
he contributed a little bit. Now he's a star.
A very little bit. Little bit. Yeah, he didn't contribute for us at all. But he gonna go into the Chiefs and start knocking running guys over now.
Exactly.
But okay,
he was rejuvenated with the Chiefs. Sometimes a change of scenery, can do that. But also his back was, I guess you could say, his back was against the wall. With the Chiefs, it was a 1-year deal. It's kind of like a 1-year prove it deal. And he definitely redeemed himself. Hey, happy for him. I just wish he would, when he was with the Niners, it wasn't really his fault. He dealt with the injuries and he couldn't really, come back from it with the 49ers. So, I'm happy though that, he's doing well with the Chiefs.
Yeah. And I feel you on that. It's just, it's disappointing, especially we paid him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Chiefs didn't have to pay him. We paid him.
Right.
And I'm just, and I know it's not my money, but it's just like when a guy like that takes up cap space, and everybody's kind of like iffy about the guy at the time when they got him because they thought he was kind of washed. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We're here now, and I would say that this running back room is probably the most talented and the most stout running back room I think that we've had. I can't remember. I mean, all those guys that we mentioned, none of them were as big and as strong as this group.
Yeah.
And I just think that I think it speaks to what they're going to do this season. I think that they are just going to run the hell out of the ball. And I heard they're even trying some triple option stuff in practice.
Yeah.
And I just think that they're going to, and to think of Trey throwing the long ball out of a triple option is just kind of scary to even think about. But
absolutely.
but yeah, it's were you surprised at Hasty clearing waivers so quickly? He looked good all season.
Yeah, he looked good all off season and through preseason. But the thing about waivers is, in order for you to claim a player off waivers, basically he has to be better than who you have, and you have to promote him to the active roster. So I was a little surprised.
That's what I'm saying.
That he was claimed. But I mean, he showed out. I mean, I think he's been pretty good with the 49ers. I'm glad he's going to get an opportunity with the Eagles. It sucks that we couldn't keep him, but
he went to the Jaguars.
He went to the Jaguars?
Yeah. Jermichael Hasty
really?
Did. Yeah.
He went to the
Sermon went to the Eagles.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, Sermon went to the Eagles, and Hasty went to the Jaguars.
Okay.
But I mean, they've got two good backs. I feel like.
Yeah.
And Travis Etienne and what's the other guy? And man, I had him on fantasy last year. But they got another guy that was an undrafted free agent, but he was 1,000-yard back. So I mean, Hasty's gonna have that. He's probably gonna have that third down role. But I was surprised. That they would just grab him so quickly with all those guys out there.
Absolutely. They saw value in Hasty. They picked up on it,
For sure. So another guy, we're going to talk about another guy that they picked up in Blake Hance from Cleveland. And how important of an addition do you think he's going to be? And is it significant that he made the 53-man roster and not the practice squad?
Absolutely. Blake went undrafted in 2019. He started 8 games last year with Cleveland at right tackle. And I think there is some, there's question marks with Mike McGlinchey at that right tackle spot. He dealt with the quad injury last year, it ended his season, and now he's got a troubled knee, I'll say. So I think there's definitely question marks with him regarding week 1 and for the entire season. And the 49ers were not satisfied with Mills. I think he was cut. And we saw, I think it was Justin School was at the right tackle spot, I believe. And he got cut as well. So the 49ers definitely needed to add depth at that tackle spot. And we'll see what he can do. I saw a few content creators put up, a highlight package, if you would call it that, of Blake Hentz. And hey, he looked solid. He was going up against, Joey Bosa. So, hey, he held up well there. And I think he could compete at that right tackle spot for sure. And I think it's great that he made the 53-man active roster. And I think it goes to show that there's really a question mark with Mike McGlinchey going forward. And it's unfortunate because he's going into a contract year. This is his last year. He wants to make generational wealth just like Trent Williams. Not that he's that type of player.
He ain't making no Trent Williams.
He ain't making Trent. But he's striving to get a significant increase in what he's making now. I think it's like 10 million or whatever. So, if he can make more than that on a multi-year contract extension, that would be a best case scenario for McGlinchey. But who knows if he'll be able to make it through the entire season? And it's unfortunate because I think I don't know if I can say he's lived up to the first round pick by the Niners, because if you live up to the first round pick, you would expect a contract extension with that same squad. And I would be surprised if that happened. So I think he was a solid pick. I think at his best, he's a great run blocker. And I think out of 40 out of 45 pass attempts, McGlinchey would do just right. And then 3rd down and 9.
It's exactly when you don't need him.
Exactly. It's the time we don't need a sack, we don't need a penalty, and then McGlinchey will do that. And unfortunately, that's all we remember. But I think McGlinchey is solid. I think he is one of the better right tackles in the league when healthy. We'll see. We'll see if we, see that this season though.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one of the best run blockers in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in this kind of system. But this is the thing. This is the reason why I'm going back and forth about does he make it back next season? Because I think the only reason why he may not make it back next season is because of his injury issues.
Yeah,
he's had some real problems with injuries the last couple of years, and but Kyle actually likes those linemen that can, as long as they can run block. He doesn't really put a premium on pass blocking. Like, I think Trent Williams is really the only offensive lineman that we got that's really good at pass pro. That's really good at both. So I think he really kind of more trusts in that run blocking, and then you just got to give me something. Just put a body, just make him go around you, something like in pass pro. But and like you said, he's not always bad in pass pro. It's always when you least need it that he just whiffs or something random.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like, I think this guy Hantz is, I don't think people should be ridiculously excited about it. But I asked a few guys on Twitter, I asked a few of the Browns fans about Hantz, and they were really upset about losing him. They thought that he was like their Daniel Brunskill.
Okay.
They thought of him in that respect. So to have like 2 Daniel Brunskills that can kind of fill in across the line, because this guy's even played some center.
Wow.
And so it's to have 2 of those guys on your squad that can just kind of plug holes when you need to. I think that may be pretty valuable. And it might be, this guy Hantz was always on practice squads and they would bring him up when they need him, but he's got like 17 starts.
Yeah.
So I think that it was a really good pickup, and I think it was really good value for what they got. And I think that they're planning on starting McGlinchey on week 1, but realistically speaking, I don't know how long he'll be able to go. Because he was looking kind of ginger in the videos that I saw him playing in practice.
Yeah, during practice. So yeah,
we'll see.
He doesn't look 100% healthy, and unfortunately in the NFL, you don't get healthier the more you play during the season. You don't get worse.
Yeah, so that's not the way it works. But so I guess so I was really kind of surprised at some of the guys that made it back to the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few guys that I thought had really good off seasons and really good preseason, looked good in the preseason. Were you surprised at some of the names, or are we just partial to our guys because we see them all the time?
I would say we're more partial. because I think you could look at a handful of guys that are on every practice squad that look good in preseason, but are you good enough to take someone else's spot on a 53-man active roster? Like you talk
That's
about,
true.
you mentioned Jason Poe. You know, he went undrafted for a reason. You know, he came out of
Mhm.
Mercer. He's showing promise clearly because the 49ers wanted him back on the practice squad. But you know, I think he showed some good things, but I think Shanahan really relies on veteran guys. You could look at last year with Tom Compton. I know Tom Compton, he filled in pretty well for McGlinchey,
Mhm.
but Shanahan loves his crafty vets. That's why Brunskill is still on this active roster because he can put him
Mhm.
anywhere, center, guard, tackle, doesn't matter, and he knows he can depend on him.
Yep.
I'm glad that we got Marcelino McCrary Ball back. I know
Yeah.
he's undersized at that linebacker spot. The Niners only have him listed at 214, which is kind of hard to believe, but it kind of showed when you watch him. He was always around the ball. He had an
Mhm.
interception in preseason, and he's a guy that definitely could be developed and stay with this 49ers team. But you never know, right? You never know because
Yeah.
another team could want to trade or whatever. We've traded linebackers in the past because hey, Fred, Aziz, Dre, you're not getting in on that. You're not
You
taking
can't.
one of their two jobs, I should say.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
but you know, Aziz and Dre, they're in the last year of their contract. I don't see there's any way that both of them come back next year. So hey, maybe Makari Ball. You also got Orrin Burks, who we
Yeah.
signed. He
Who
looked
impressed
pretty
me?
good too. Well,
I
exactly.
was
He was always around the ball in preseason.
Mhm.
So
And
we
Flanagan
signed
Foles.
him. Flanagan Foles is there. He's like the special teams ace. Also Curtis Robinson, who I'm surprised
I'm
we
surprised he
kept.
made it.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised. I'm like, we have six linebackers. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here? But but you know that goes to the to tell you the talent that's in this linebacking core, because we're going to need to replace. There's no guarantee we'll bring one of the two back. You know, what if
Mm.
both leave? Then
Yep.
that leaves a void. But I'll just say this: a lot of teams use the three wide receiver set. So obviously you're going to be in the nickel package, so you're not going to need three linebackers on the field. You're only going to have Fred and one other guy. So that could be Fred and Orrin Burks, you know. So,
I
but we'll
mean,
see.
down the yeah, down
So,
the road.
so yeah, someone else I was surprised. I'm glad we got wide receiver Tay Martin back, and we also got
Yeah.
Malik Turner back on the practice squad. Also, cornerback Quantrez and then safety Taylor Hawkins. I'm glad we got those two
Mhm.
back. Those are young guys who just need more tutelage. Hopefully, they can get some in-game action because unfortunately, with the Niners secondary, we know they get hurt. You know,
Yes.
Mosley gets hurt. We know Verrett's coming back hopefully after week 4. But
Mhm.
you know, injuries are happen, and I'm glad we got those guys back though for sure.
Yeah, and you know, Hawkins is a guy that I was really high on. Like
Yeah.
I was really happy to see that they got him back. Quantrez Knight is an interesting prospect because I see him as the future Barnacle,
Mm.
taking over that Dante Johnson spot. Like
Ah,
because
I'm
Dante,
shocked we got Dante Johnson back. I'm shocked, man.
how could you be shocked? Like how could he's the barnacle? He's always going to be here.
Yeah,
I
he's
feel
always
like
going to be
even
here.
when they decide, like, okay, Dante, you can't be here. Like, we just can't do it no more.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like even when that happens, they're gonna find some way. He gonna be carrying helmets in or something. Like,
right,
he gonna
right.
be in the door somehow.
He's been cut 50 11 times, brought back 52 times. Like, man, but he's interchangeable. You can play him in the
Yeah.
nickel,
Any
you can play him outside, you can play him at safety. So hey, he knows the system, he can do it all. Yeah. That's what
yeah, and I,
Shanahan and Lynch value, guys who are interchangeable, who can play more than one position. And that's what they value. So
Yep, for sure. And but that's what I see Quantrez Knight being down the road, like because he was actually safety in college, and they tried him at more at corner. He got some reps at safety, but that's the kind of role that I see him playing, filling in like here and there, like down the road. But they're definitely going to want to sit him on the practice squad this year just to for like you said, get a little bit more tutelage
yeah,
and but there was a couple of other guys that like Malik Turner
right.
that I was really surprised past waivers. Like that with especially with the Bears lurking out there, they didn't
Yeah.
have no wide receivers, and there was a couple other teams that were wide receiver needy that didn't take a guy. But the guy I'm most surprised about making it back is Kamoko Ture.
Oh yeah, yep.
How on earth did the league let us get that guy back on the roster? I have no idea.
No idea, but definitely glad they did. Definitely glad no one picked him up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was because Kamoko Ture showed out. I mean, though everybody was impressed with him.
Was Kamoko, was he waived or was he released? Because if he's released, he's an unrestricted free agent. He can sign with anyone. But if he's waived, then he would have to pass through waivers. I don't know about Kamiko's service time.
I'm not quite sure either.
Okay.
Like I'm not quite sure either. I would have to look it up, but he was but I mean he passed. I think he was waived because they said he passed through waivers and he went back to the practice squad, so he had to be waived.
Okay.
But yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches on our practice squad, and I fully expect some guys to get poached off. There's a good thing that we were able to protect 4 guys, I believe.
Right.
We're able
did they announce which 4 guys are?
I guess they have to announce it every week.
Okay.
They have to do it every week.
Every week.
So, and I was surprised they brought Willie Snead back.
Well, yeah, because now you have 3 wide receivers on the practice squad. So, yeah, hey, he's a crafty vet. He was taking punt returns back. I didn't see anything special there, but
but he was serviceable. So
he's serviceable.
He's a vet.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
But there was another guy that I saw that I was. But yeah, you were talking about Poe earlier. Yeah. I wasn't surprised at that. As soon as they waived him, I was like, well, he's gonna be back because the league's not trying to look for any 6 feet guards. So
you'd have to have a certain system like Shanahan's to really appreciate, because now guards are almost as big as the tackles, 6'5", 330 plus.
But he looked. I think out of everybody, he looked pretty stout.
Yeah.
And they said that a lot of people would like to see them work him at center and kind of develop him there, because 6 feet is probably tall enough for center. But I guess my last guy that I'm really kind of in mourning that they didn't even talk about him after they waived him was Donovan West. I didn't think he did anything to say that he looked bad. He just didn't do anything to say he looked good.
I don't think he didn't seem ready. It seemed like he
was just
needs
there.
To get stronger. He needs to get a lot stronger. Like Poe can set, and I don't think Donovan West was kind of like he was. I wouldn't say ragdoll or anything like that, but he just wasn't as stout in his pass pro. Appreciate that, Adam. Appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate. That's my.
He wasn't as stout in his pass pro. Donovan West was, but did he get picked up? By him? I didn't hear anything.
No, he hasn't gotten picked up. So he just out on the street.
Wow.
But
and it's crazy. Well, I guess it's not crazy because he did go undrafted, right? So
yeah. But he was slated to be a second, third
round pick. Yeah, and he went undrafted. So
yeah,
I'm sure he'll get picked up somewhere.
But yeah, it is what it is. But hey, dude, I really appreciate having you on, Jay.
Hey.
I appreciate you coming on. Any last kind of takes? Any hot takes that you got that you want to bring up before we get out of here?
Let's see. Hot takes. I think Trey Lance will lead us to the playoffs. I think Trey Lance will disregard the noise coming from the outside world. I think he's going to fight through the adversity because that's what it is. And that's what every professional at any level has to do. You got to fight through adversity. Not everything's going to go your way. Your feelings may get hurt or whatever, or you may get doubted in whatever you do, but you have to rise to the occasion and fight through that adversity. I think that's what Trey Lance will do. I'm predicting 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and I think Trey Lance will ball this year. There will be some bumps in the road for sure. That's what I'm expecting. Sure. But I think with this offense, with Kyle Shanahan, I think Trey Lance is probably the best quarterback from that class. When you talk about talent and coaching surrounding that quarterback, you could look up Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. I think Trey Lance is in the best spot to succeed. All pro wide receiver, all pro left tackle, all pro tight end. top 3, top 5 defense behind him. And we know we're going to run the ball 30 to 35 times. So,
yeah, it's coming.
Man, I can't wait till week 1 against Chicago. I know Chicago might be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but you still got to go out there and play and execute. And if we play like we did against the Texans, hey, Chicago has a chance. Day. Yeah, it'll be a long day. Chicago definitely has a chance. So, yeah.
Yeah. So and as we get out, I'm gonna bounce off of your hot take. I want everybody to understand something. This is the thing about Trey and people that say that Trey's not ready. Listen. We draft this team because you just talked about it. Like all the wide receivers, all the people, all the skill positions, the defense, the running backs, all the wide receivers. They drug Jimmy G to an NFC championship, and he had to do minimal work.
Right.
Like that, Trey has, at the very least, he has like elite characteristic, elite traits,
right,
and he can do some of the things that we just wish Jimmy could have done. So if this team can drag Jimmy, this team I feel like can drag Trey. And it doesn't, but I don't think it's going to come to that. I think that the offense is going to look better. But even if it doesn't, I think that this team is going to be able to drag Trey to at least 10 wins and at least the same amount of wins that we had last year. And we are going to make the playoffs. I agree with you on the 29 touchdown. I think that he's going to throw for about the same amount of yards that Jimmy did, about 38,000. Or actually he almost threw for 4,000 last year, I think.
Yeah.
It was like 39. But I'm planning on 35 to 39. Plus, I think he's going to run for like 700 yards.
Nice.
So that's the way I'm looking at it. But just give the kid a second to breathe and and to kind of settle in. He doesn't seem to be pressured at all. And that's it seems like he has a personality that's he lets things roll off his back. So I think that's going to serve him well in these situations.
And he's very mature for his age. Mm-hmm. You can tell he takes accountability for mistakes that have been made. Jimmy G, sometimes he didn't always do that. Sometimes he would say a lot of we and not me. And when there's mistakes made, Trey says, I got to get better. I have to do things better. And
exactly.
That's very, very telling for a 22-year-old that he's that mature. The only issue I could see arising if everyone's healthy is the offensive line. We have to remember that this team last year had a Pro Bowl caliber guard in Laken Tomlinson, had Alex Mack, and then you had, Brunskill at that right guard spot. So, and now we go to Spencer Burford, Jake Brindle, and Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
So that's you're going from an experienced interior offensive line to basically no experience. So I think the offensive line is going to have some bumps in the road. I think from week 1 to week 5 to week 10 to week 12, I think it's going to continue to get better. But we just have to allow them to work through that. And that's my only, I would say, knock on the Niners this offseason. Like, obviously the draft, we did great, right? Some say we mishandled the Jimmy situation, but whatever. I think it's working out so far. Obviously he's playing at a reduced salary, but this interior offensive line, the Niners didn't really, obviously hindsight's 2020. I wish we could have kept Laken Tomlinson. But there's no way. I think he's making like $13 million a year. There's no way.
They weren't paying him.
No,
that wasn't gonna.
He deserves every penny he got. I think he only missed like one start in 5 years with the Niners. That was a hell of a trade that John Lynch made in 2017 with Detroit, trading like a day 3 pick for him. So that was
people were upset. The people were upset still.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you just go from an experienced offensive line to no experience. That's unfortunate. But with Shanahan scheming things out, I think we'll make it work. I think we'll make it work, and we'll still be successful.
Yeah, good stuff. And once again, I appreciate having you on, Jay. It was great having you and talking 49er football. And we are a week away. We are a week away.
Can't wait.
And everybody's excited. I know I am. I know you are. But one last time, hey, everybody, I appreciate having you in the chat. I appreciate all the support on Twitter. I appreciate all the new subscribers. I am now at 100 subscribers, which is just crazy to even think of. It hasn't even been a year. So I thank all of you. Like I'm very humble in this moment. So it's I appreciate all of you. But remember that to share, like, comment, and like, yeah, smash that like button, and
Right.
always subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. And also, I have my audio. Like, I always rip the audio and put it on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
Nice.
So you can always find it there too. Tell your friends if they don't have time to watch YouTube, they can always find it the audio version. But one last time, Jay, tell them where they can find you, because I know they can find you everywhere.
Hey, absolutely. And huge shout out to everyone that was in the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys being here, you guys and gals being here. But you can find me Facebook, IG, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube at Jay in the Bay. And I talk all things 49ers. And yeah, week one can't come any sooner. I'm counting down the days, the minutes, the hours, the seconds. I can't wait. And I'm also looking forward to that Thursday night game coming up against the Bills and Rams. What a hell of a way to kick it off. So can't wait. Week one can't come any sooner, man. And yeah, I appreciate you for allowing me to come on your platform tonight on the Niner Fanatic podcast. I think we will have another podcast. Maybe I'll bring you on my channel as well. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
I'm down anytime. But thank you guys once again. And as always, go Niners.
Go Niners.